Xiao, what if I told you that the Bible verse you have quoted the most throughout your life might never have actually meant what you were told it meant? The next few minutes could change the way you read the Bible forever. Today, I want to open your eyes to something the church rarely corrects. We are going to talk about 5 Bible verses Christians quote wrong every single day, and what they actually mean when you read them in context. 2 Timothy 2:15 tells us to be diligent to present yourself approved to God, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. Notice that phrase, rightly handling. Scripture can be misused even by sincere people. Misquoting a verse does not require bad intentions. It only requires never checking the verse around it. 1. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is the most repeated verse on inspirational posters, and almost nobody quotes it correctly. I once sat across from a young man preparing to launch a business he had no training for, no plan for, and no counsel behind. When I asked him why he felt ready, he smiled and said, I can do all things through Christ. He believed the verse was a blank check for any ambition he attached his faith to. But Philippians 4:13 does not say that. Paul wrote those words from prison. The verses just before it describe him learning to be content whether he had plenty or had nothing. The strength Paul is describing is not the power to achieve any goal you choose. It is the power to endure any circumstance you are placed in. This verse was never a promise of success. It is a promise of sufficiency. Christ strengthens you to survive the famine, not to guarantee the harvest. 2. God will never give you more than you can handle. This is the phrase people say at hospital bedsides, at funerals, in the middle of someone's worst week. And it is almost never followed by an actual Bible reference, because the verse it is borrowed from says something very different. 1 Corinthians 10:13 is about temptation, not tragedy. It promises that God will provide a way out so that you can endure temptation, not that your suffering will always stay within your personal limit. I remember a woman in our congregation who lost her husband and her job in the same month. Someone told her God would never give her more than she could handle, and she told me later that the verse made her feel like her grief was a personal failure, because clearly she could not handle it. The truth set her free instead. God never promised your pain would be proportioned to your strength. He promised His presence inside pain that exceeds it. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says His power is made perfect in weakness, not in your ability to cope. 3. Where 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am in the midst of them. This verse gets used to justify almost any small group meeting as automatically spirit-filled and conflict-free. But Matthew 18:20 is sitting at the end of a passage about church discipline. Jesus is talking about 2 or 3 witnesses confronting a sinning brother, not a casual Bible study or a prayer circle. The promise of His presence there is specifically tied to confronting sin with accountability, not to gathering in general. That does not mean Christ is absent from your small group. It means this particular verse was never meant to be the proof text for it. 4. Judge not, that ye be not judged. Of every verse on this list, this one gets weaponized the most. I have watched people use Matthew 7:1 to silence any correction, any warning, any accountability, as if Jesus forbade discernment altogether. But read 4 verses further. Jesus says, "First take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye." He is not condemning judgment. He is condemning hypocritical judgment, the kind that ignores its own sin while attacking someone else's. The verse assumes you will eventually remove the speck. It just demands you deal with yourself first. Misusing this verse does not protect people from judgment. It protects sin from correction. If this message is already changing the way you read your own favorite verses, please subscribe to this channel and write in the comments, "Lord, give me your truth, not my assumptions." Now let us continue, because the final verse on this list might be the most misquoted one in the entire Bible. 5. Money is the root of all evil. Almost everyone quotes it this way, and almost everyone gets it wrong twice. 1 Timothy 6:10 does not say money is the root of all evil. It says the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Two small words change the entire meaning. Money itself is morally neutral. Scripture is full of godly people who were wealthy. The danger was never the currency in someone's hand. It was the posture of someone's heart toward it. I once knew a man who refused to build savings or accept a raise because he believed money itself was corrupting. He was not living in obedience. He was living in fear, and he had built that fear on half a verse. When you actually read the full sentence, the warning is not against having resources. It is against loving them more than you love God. You can hold money loosely and still hold it. The sin was never in the holding. It was always in the loving. I want to say something important before we close. This message is not about making you afraid to quote Scripture. It is about making you hungry to read it more carefully. The Bereans in Acts 17 were praised because they examined the Scriptures daily to see if what they were told was true. That is not criticism. That is maturity. 2 Timothy 3:16 reminds us that all Scripture is God-breathed and useful for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness. Every word matters, including the words right before and after the verse you love most. A verse pulled out of its context is no longer a window into truth. It becomes a mirror that only reflects what you already wanted to believe. So, before you quote Scripture as a comfort, a defense, or a command, take one more step. Read the verse before it. Read the verse after it. Ask who was speaking, who they were speaking to, and why. The Bible was never meant to be mined for quotable fragments. It was meant to be read as a whole story, and you are standing inside that story right now. If this message opened your eyes today, I want you to do one thing right now. Write in the comments, "Lord, teach me to read your word rightly." That is a declaration, and God honors it. And if you know someone who quotes Scripture often, but has never been shown the fuller picture, share this video with them today. It could change the way they read the Bible forever. Do not forget to subscribe to Bible Truth Zone so we can keep growing together in biblical wisdom every single week. God bless you deeply, my brother, my sister. Until next time.